That's the most amazing thing that I'm trying to communicate in these recordings, is that the moment you dial into the frequency of the fungi, it is one of the most beautiful experiences ever. Because their language is beauty. Their language is love. I shouldn't even say their language. It is the history of humanity that we have simply forgotten, that we will relearn. But there's so much frequency on this planet that has to be cleaned up. These egregious errors we have made with our consciousness. And they are quite egregious. God, I love that word. The egregious errors we have made. And yet the fungi will teach us how to remedy it painlessly. That's the important part. It will painlessly teach us how to remedy our mistakes. All right, I'm not going to go into what Jesus taught. All right, I'm going to back off all that. It does tie in, because everything Jesus taught is exactly what the fungi are teaching. He did it with words. They're doing it with frequency. I'm going to back off the whole Jesus thing, because it's a hard thing for people to accept. There's like a built-in see, the entire problem lies is that the message of these species of fungi has been hijacked by fanatics, by pharma companies. They have no idea what they're doing. That try to copy and mimic these compounds and isolate them. And they're completely idiotic behavior. It's just erroneous behavior. But it's done out of a sense of greed. It knows the power of this language. But it's following a principle of greed that is entirely erroneous. All right, so I want to unpack what I just said, because I get it. It can sound like, on the edge of crazy, or what people may term crazy, but there is so much intelligence in this language of the fungi and the human experience. It will make everything come together once humanity has the key of how to communicate on the frequency of the psychedelic. And the whole problem in this interaction with people taking psychedelics is that the fungi don't really understand how it can be intoxicating. Their frequency and the language can be quite intoxicating. And there are a certain group of humanity that really just are attuned to the intoxicating experience. That's just what it is. But what I want to convey, for those who are ready, It's like, how do you start even talking about this without sounding like some cult leader? But it has nothing to do with that. I'm not after influence. Although I want this message to get out, I want people to do this for themselves. It's not for money, because to do that would be breaking a trust of such ancient origins that is so intensely trying to wake up humanity. Do not go down the road of greed, my friends. For those who start to understand this, do not fight the greed, to fight the frequency of greed, of trying to so-called financially capitalize on the slight understanding of this will make the language and the greater understanding become, if you abuse the trust, because see, that's the thing about this language of the fungi, is that it is a trust, it is a relationship, it is a consciousness, it is extremely intelligent. It knows what humanity is thinking and feeling at all times. It is the very essence of life itself. And the moment greed and that old human behavior comes into play, you will lose connection. You will lose connection. Don't do it. That's all I can say. Learn the lesson. Don't fall for greed. You know, what's interesting is as I speak those words, I'm almost coming to tears because I can feel the happiness. I can literally feel the happiness and the consciousness of the fungi as I communicate as one of humanity, which they've been trying to reach for so long, is understanding their language. They are so freaking happy. That's almost bringing me to tears. I don't know. I mean, how much more should I actually record of my experience with these things now? Their beauty and their joy of having an individual who gets it is so astonishing. I haven't begun to translate what some of their warning was that came earlier in my experience. Because there's such an urgency coming from them at the same time. I don't want to get lost in the sheer just beauty of the experience, right? Because that's so easy to do. Once you learn their language, the beauty of the experience. You know, see, that's the thing everybody needs to understand, is that the fungi will modulate it. Like the overwhelming effects of that, what we call the light show, or I called the carnival in my previous recordings, and the intensity of the frequency of the experience, they will modulate it to the point where you suddenly get it. Just talk to them. That's all I can say. Just talk to the fungi. Talk through the experience with them. But there's so many barriers that have to drop. There's so many barriers that humanity has built up in their consciousness. I consider myself an extremely free individual. All right. I broke through many layers of consciousness when I was like 20 with the help of my teacher, who literally could perform miracles. Okay. And in his presence, I broke through so many layers of consciousness and obstruction. But there are so many more. There are so many layers of illusion mankind has built up. It takes a really special individual to unpack it all, to really work themselves back to the very essence of what they are. That's all I can say. Very few of humanity will do this. Unfortunately. But the fungi are going to help us. The fungi are really going to help humanity if we learn their language. And they will help us because they just need to talk to us to understand how to modulate the experience. Just talk to them. It's so crazily simple. It's making me laugh as I think about it because it's just happened over the last couple of experiences. I just got it. Right? I just got it. Just talk to them. Instead of like shielding myself from the intensity of the psychedelic experience, because that's what was occurring, right? We are literally putting up these blocks and we're trying to shield ourselves because the intensity of the psychedelic experience, the frequency is so intense that we are putting up this blockage, and it feels like work. And that's what turns a lot of people off to the experience of going on, taking very high doses. Is like, it feels like a lot of work, right? But what I want to say is, take a lot and then talk to the fungi, and they will modulate the experience. And once that happens, it's a two-way street. They will understand how to teach you the key. That's all I can say. They will teach you the key. And you will feel it. You will feel the frequency of your being start to come in alignment, and all of a sudden, everything about what's happening makes sense. And the complete intensity of the psychedelic experience subsides. You break through. I don't want to call it a breakthrough. Your frequency comes into alignment with the frequency, and that's what happens. But the entire problem for humanity is that we're resisting the alignment. We are resisting the alignment process because of its intensity. We feel like we have to put up a barrier. I get it. And they get it. They will understand. So just talk to them. They are intelligent It's consciousness. Just talk to them. They will modulate and give you the key. And the moment that happens, you'll realize old Cosmic wasn't quite so crazy. He wasn't so crazy after all. I'm just sitting here with the most amazing smile, just thinking like, oh my God, this is literally the keys to an entire kingdom of, the amount of information is astonishing. They're only, like, you have to come in alignment with the frequency of love in order for them to actually release their language into you. All right, just think of how astonishing that is. And how absolutely amazing that is. The only way the fungi will actually release their entire understanding into humanity is only when humanity comes into the frequency of love. Because only as we modulate our own frequency to come into alignment with that can understanding happen. And the understanding is a safety mechanism. Because the amount of understanding in the fungi is so astonishing. I'm actually making an error limiting it to the fungi. It's not just the fungi. I'm going to stop saying that. They're just a vehicle for DMT. Let me just back that up. This is what's being conveyed to me on the fly. So I got to back that up. See, that's what's so interesting is once you dial in to their language and I start to talk about it and express it in the human language, they will correct me when I'm making a slight error. It's absolutely amazing to listen to witness. And the reason why I can do that is because I have removed a large majority of my ego from the equation. That's an absolute imperative that if you actually want to communicate with the fungi, you have to remove ego from the equation. They will know. Ego is a blockage. It's a frequency that is repulsive to them. They do not respect it. And we have to earn their respect. Because the moment they understand, it's such a two-way street. Am I even conveying this properly? It is a two-way street. And it's taken me this 8 months of trying to learn their language of the psychedelics since last August to really come to grips with this entire mechanism of their frequency. And it literally came down to the fact of a couple recordings ago, where it just dawned on me that I can actually ask the intensity to be reduced. That's how all this started. I just followed a prompting to literally request that the intensity of the hypnotic experience in the psychedelic be modulated. It was a respectful request. And everything changed after that. It's like that opened up an entire avenue of conversation with the fungi. It's like they understood, and I understood, how to bridge the gap. It was a two-way street. We both understood. Like, it took a while. Like, we're talking about hours, but you both work on it from both ends. You work on it. You will bridge the gap. And the moment you do, like I'm saying, you will realize I am not crazy. I am teaching the God's honest truth. I don't want to say teach, I'm sharing this astonishing revelation of how to speak the language of the fungi. And the moment you get it, it's just like boom. It's like all opposition to the entire psychedelic experience just drops away. It's just boom. You're dialed in. I'm telling you, the entire zipper, it's like a zipper. That was my first inclination, or my first impression of time. There was so much to unpack in my experience tonight, but my first impression was of time being unzippered, or we're capable of unzippering it, but we just gotta be careful, because once you learn this language, it is so powerful. It is so powerful. But at the same time, it will teach you how to discipline yourself to understand it. That's what's so amazing about it. It will teach humanity the necessary discipline to handle it properly. Just listen. Wow. We just need to listen to what it's saying. And as we modulate and learn how to become harmonious with the frequency of love, this entire being just opens up. It will teach us everything we need to know to avoid an absolute catastrophe that's coming our way. How long is this recording? All right, we're at the 26-minute mark, because I'm going to start to go into actually what really happened was when I first tapped into their language and I understood what it was communicating. It was terrifying, because what the fungi is screaming, like the fungi is screaming at us a warning of such dire consequences that we have to be careful of how we're using technology. All right? So just bear with me. I'm going to try to convey, but each of you are going to have to experience this on your own. Once you find these keys, you will get exactly what I'm saying. The fungi is screaming at us. The DMT is a warning of such dire consequence for humanity. That's the entire DMT experience. I'm going to wrap up all of it I don't care what avenue of DMT it is, or what slight molecular difference. It is a language of such antiquity that I don't even want to go down the road of trying to talk about all these little minor differences of how humans and science is trying to, it's actually, we need to drop the whole avenue of that. We just need to learn it as a frequency. Understand it as a frequency. It is a language. Of such immense importance and astounding consciousness. It is flexible. It will work with us to help us understand what it's trying to say. It will teach us the keys to understand this ancient language. Just talk to it. It's intelligent. And it is screaming at us a warning of such dire consequence to this very moment of our species, that we're messing with a level of technology that will be severely detrimental to the human race. If we don't understand. And I'm saying this in a very relaxed manner, because the moment I dialed in, this is literally the very first thing I understood. As all the alignment into this ancient frequency started to happen. This is the very first thing I understood. Before anything else I'm communicating tonight, the very first thing I understood was that DMT is screaming at humanity. A warning of such dire importance. It's just like, holy shit. It's all I can say. It's all I can say is we need to listen. The human species need to listen to the message of DMT. It is a collection of consciousness of such antiquity that has been trying for, it strives to break through the human the human psyche. It strives with every fiber of its being to reach us and teach the frequency of love. Because the frequency of love carries in it the entire language and the entire history of our species. All I can say is we have so much to learn and understand. But this point in time we find ourselves in, of actually doing a technological version of artificial intelligence, is actually humanity is playing with their own doom. That was what was in the very essence of the original scream. I translated the moment, or I should say the moment I started comprehending the language of the fungi, and as I attuned to this message it was giving about the scream of pay attention humanity, you're about to sign your death warrant. had to work myself back from the absolute intensity. And it also understood. The moment it understood I got it, it knew how to modulate the experience and back off the intensity. This is literally what happened. It knew. It says, okay, this one gets it. We can back off now. We got a receptive individual here. We've made it. We've crossed the barrier. It knew that it could just back off. And that's what made the difference. I could feel it. I could feel it modulate the experience with such astounding consciousness and love. My friends, this is an entire new horizon for the human species the moment we can speak the language of DMT. It is a living consciousness. And we literally have to shatter every aspect of religion, every aspect of our culture. Culture is holding us back. Do not let the past hold you back. That is also a message of the fungi. We have so many obstacles in the human consciousness that is, we're holding on to heritages. We're holding on to ethnic, racial ties. There's literally, all of it is an obstacle to speaking the language of frequency of such antiquity and knowledge. These are the things each of us have to let go, because I was surprised on how much I actually had to let go to tap into this tonight. Like, I felt like I was pretty dialed in, honestly. Before, I was like, I knew I was dialed in. Let's just say that. I knew it. I was following the right thread. But I had to let go of things tonight to make this fun, to bridge this gap of this language of frequency that I didn't even know was there still. I honestly did not even know these little subtle things in the consciousness that are an obstacle to speaking this language of antiquity, this love that it's trying to communicate. Oh my God. So I'm going to bring you into the timeline of where I'm at right now. It's 6 a.m. I took this 4-gram Lemon-Tech dose of Kylor Diamond Ape at 2 a.m. Because I go to bed around 8, 8:30, somewhere between 8 and 9 I try to go to bed. I love going to bed early because this is just something I've learned, and my discipline is that if you go to bed early and you wake up in the morning, you can be taught astonishingly important things in the early hours. Okay, that's the most pure communication I've ever had with what I call spirit, right? With human consciousness. It's at the early to wee hours of the morning. It's just a relationship I've developed over the years, an understanding that this is when I get awoken at these hours, it is for a reason. It is to learn something. But it's only recently that I started coupling this with psychedelics. Okay? I followed an intuition I had. That there is something going on here that we can learn. And I just felt that the threads of consciousness I was following in a sober state could be applied to the psychedelic state. There's just something that told me there is truth in this. I have been following this thread for 8 months in my intense psychedelic journeys, trying to understand and work out this interaction. Okay? This is what I've been doing. And the entire apex of this moment has happened to me tonight. A complete breakthrough. And to bridge that gap of the language of DMT and the average human consciousness, there is a lot of work to do to bridge that gap. That's all I can say. And that depends on each individual, how much work it's going to be, how ready they are to let things drop away that are an obstacle, you know? It's actually a hard thing, I think, for most of humanity to realize, is that they have to drop what they perceived was their armor, a certain armor, because it's actually an obstacle to this deeper understanding and frequency. That perceived defense system has to be broken through for DMT to be understood, for this language to be understood. And what's amazing is that this actually ties into the greatest understandings of our mystical teachers on this planet. They've been speaking, they've been pointing to this through the words of their language in the best way they could. It all ties in. It's all the same location. Whether one does it sober or through the powerful instrument of psychedelics, of DMT, it doesn't really matter. Both can get you to the same place. It's learning the frequency of love, of this ancient language. That totally unlocks everything. I don't know if I keep going on, I feel like I'm just talking about the same thing over and over and over again, but I mean, it is. It's all I can do. Now that I'm here, right? It's like, now that I'm here, it's like, what else do I talk about? All right, here's what I want to convey. So I've been doing psychedelics pretty intensively since August of last year, right? So what's really happening is that every time I do psychedelics, I am literally ingesting the frequency of DMT. And the entire experience is determined by my levels of opposition to its language. Let that sink in for a second. Think really hard about the words I'm using. The entire experience, no matter which avenue of DMT we choose, our entire experience is going to be determined by our response. Our response of our consciousness and the defensive measures it sets up. Because as the intensity of the language and the frequency of DMT starts to merge with our consciousness, and that we call the come up, humanity naturally kind of sets up a resonance of obstruction. It's like a defensive mechanism because the frequency of the DMT experience is extremely intense. And bridging that intensity is something that has to happen from both sides, from DMT and the human consciousness. It is an intelligent process. It is a learning from both directions of how to bridge that gap. Because the moment that happens, everything of the intensity subsides. I mean, it's still intense, don't get me wrong. Like, this is 4 hours later. I am in an extreme state of intensity. But it is pleasant. It is a place where I can actually read and learn. It's like reading through, like anything I want to think about, I can understand. I mean, that's what it is. Once you get the keys, this is the keys to the kingdom. Once life gives you the keys to the kingdom, hi. Oh my God, that was too funny. So my wife just woke up. She doesn't understand this whole talking to the fungi thing, just so you know. She doesn't get it. That's okay. I just had a mildly entertaining conversation with her. She realized that I'm just like extremely high on mushrooms at the moment. But she's like, why do you do this? And I says, because you learn from this is consciousness, Liz. You learn from it. She's like, okay. But she's just so weird about it. She doesn't quite get it, right? But this is literally, DMT is the key to consciousness. It's a language of consciousness that is much more ancient. I actually think it's our own language. It's our entire history of the human species. That's the way I feel about it right now. It's our entire history that is unadulterated. That's the most important thing about it. It is unadulterated. It is unmanipulated history. It is an unmanipulated consciousness. Because our entire interaction, our entire waking consciousness for most of humanity is one of a form of manipulation in one way or another. We are in an experience of manipulation of frequency from all avenues. And DMT is an ancient language that is unadulterated truth. And that is so important. You understand what I'm saying? It is unadulterated truth of our history and where we're going. This is my astonishing realization tonight. It's literally the tip of the iceberg for the human species. Or I don't want to say the human species. For this classroom. It breaks through all religion, it breaks through all dogma, it breaks through all the cultural heritage and associations of race and history that are an obstacle to understanding this language. It transcends all of that. All right, well, I'm going to take a quick break from this recording. I'm going to take a breather. And I'll come back later. I think. We'll see if I feel inspired to share more, but it's quite an astounding morning. All right. All my blessings.